So, we have this idea of making decisions and how do we make those decisions and the regret that can sometimes go with those decisions.
Paul's second letter to Timothy. This is Paul's final and most personal letter. He wrote it from yet another time in prison, and it's addressed to Paul's dear co-worker and protege, the young Timothy. Now, we don't know how much time exactly has passed since he wrote 1 Timothy, but we can see that Paul's situation has changed, and for the worse. He's imprisoned in Rome, which could refer to his time under house arrest that was mentioned in Acts chapter 28, or it could be that he was released from that imprisonment, had another long season of ministry, and then was arrested again in Troas. Either way, Paul says he's in the middle of his court trial now, and it is not going well. He's pretty sure he's not going to survive this one. And so out of this very dark situation, Paul appeals to Timothy, who it seems is still on assignment in Ephesus. He asks Timothy to come be with him in prison so Paul can pass on to him the church planting mission he started. The letter's design is pretty simple. There are two large sections where Paul challenges Timothy. First, to accept his calling as a leader, and then, before he comes to Paul, to deal with the corrupt teachers that are still causing problems in Ephesus. After this, Paul concludes the letter. He reminds Timothy that Jesus' grace is a source of power, which is really important. You're going to need it because following Jesus is not easy. It requires everything that you have. Paul likens following Jesus to enrolling as a soldier who's striving to please their commanding officer. Or it's like an athlete who's training their body for a competition. Or it's like a hardworking, dedicated farmer. All three of these metaphors involve a person who's committed to something bigger than themselves and who's willing to sacrifice and endure challenges to accomplish a greater goal. And of course, the highest example of this is Jesus himself. Because of his commitment to the Father, he suffered crucifixion by the Romans. And similarly, Paul himself is now suffering in a Roman prison. Hardship and sacrifice are inherent to the Christian life. And this is why Jesus' resurrection is the foundation of Christian hope. Or as Paul puts it in a short and very powerful poem, if we died with him, then we will live with him. If we endure, then we will reign with him. If we deny him, then he will deny us. If we are unfaithful, he will remain faithful, for he's unable to deny his own nature. God's love for our world has opened up a new hope through the death and resurrection of Jesus. And so for those who will take the risk of trusting and following Jesus, God promises vindication and life. For those who reject him, God will honor that decision and do the same. But people's faithlessness will never compel God to abandon his faithfulness. And so Paul calls Timothy to faithfulness, knowing that it may come with a cost. The letter of 2 Timothy stands as a reminder that Paul's very influential life and mission were marked by persistent challenge and suffering and struggle. Following Jesus involves risk and sacrifice. It means inviting tension and discomfort into your life. And these things are not a sign of Jesus' absence. Rather, as Paul discovered with generations of Christians after him, that precisely in those dark and difficult moments, Jesus' love and faithfulness can become the most tangible and real.
Okay. So when you hear about Paul's life, there are certain aspects of his life where you go, yes, okay, I'm ready to follow Jesus. And then there's portions of it like this, which was at the end of his life, where we're like, really, that's what following Jesus is gonna, struggle and hardship and life is gonna be rough. Why would we do that? One of the things that Paul talks about a lot is one of the things they mentioned in that recap of this letter that he writes to Timothy, is that he has this belief in something bigger than himself. And I think you're probably similar to me in some aspect of your life where sometimes it's hard to imagine anything bigger than you, right? Especially if you're in a time of life where you feel like you've got this figured out. You've got a good rhythm. You've got things are going well for you. There's no big tragedy. There's nothing really difficult going on. And so there is the temptation to not worry about anything being bigger than you. Nothing needs to be more important than what's important to you. Nothing needs to be more important than what you give it importance to be. And so we end up, we talked about last week that Jesus has to be the cornerstone of our life. But the reality of it is you can have all kinds of things be a cornerstone in your life. But what is the stability of that cornerstone? You can try and make success in sports a cornerstone in your life. But what happens when you get injured? What happens when you don't make the team? You can try and make finances, money, the cornerstone of your life. But what happens when you get laid off? What happens when you just can't find a job? You can make your school success the cornerstone of your life. And you can get all the honors and you get honor roll and valedictorian and all of these things, but then you move on into a place where that's not appreciated or that's not recognized. What happens to that cornerstone in your life? So I want to start again just by asking you and encouraging you to consider, what are you treating as the cornerstone of your life? And we've all got one. Is it something that could so easily be stripped away, but really you're not worried about it because right now you're not feeling like you need to consider anything bigger than yourself? But one of the things that we see modeled in Paul's life, and one of the things he talks about over and over again in the Bible, in his letters that he writes to the different churches, is, man, this belief that, this faith that there is something bigger than you. Do you believe there's something bigger than you? And honestly, I mean, I grew up in church. This is so part of who I am. I can easily go, oh, no, I know God is, okay, it's not just about what you believe. It's not just about what you nod your head and you come to church and be like, that sounds good. How is it being lived out? In your life, what's the cornerstone? If someone were to look at your life, ouch, okay, this is where it gets tough. If someone were to look at your life, what would they say? What would they say is the cornerstone of your life? And I guarantee there have been periods of time in my life where somebody would in fact, I had this conversation with somebody that I went to high school with a few years ago. My kids go to the same high school I went to, and so now there are several parents around the school. We have kids at the school. And I was actually talking to one of these parents who I went to school with, and she said, so were you religious in high school? Yeah. She goes, because I know that this guy, and there was this guy that we both knew, and he would carry a Bible around school, and everything out of his mouth was Jesus, and everything out of his mouth, I mean, everybody knew where he stood on everything, and so she goes, well, we knew about him. Okay, that's cool. Well, it's great. I'm like, wow. And I left kind of brokenhearted because what did my life, at least in that period of time, demonstrate to people? Now, the reality was I didn't have a foul mouth. I wasn't sleeping with my girlfriend. I wasn't, doing all these things that somebody might go, ooh, that's it. But what impact did I really make? So this belief, this confidence in something bigger than ourselves is huge. What is your cornerstone? What are you really committed to? And when we try and create a life that we want, and then that fails, it leads to regret, right? And we all regret something. Yeah? Would you agree with me? At this point in your life, you've experienced some sort of regret. It might not be this, oh, my life is ending kind of a regret, but it's something where it's like, I wish I made a different choice. That game that we started with, even little things like that, you're like, I should have known that, right? Oh, I should have known that was fake. Oh, I should have known that was a real name. And we have these things of regret. And through your life, and the people around you, there's all kinds of things that people regret. Moves on the stock market, right? Oh, I should have, bought that stock. I should have traded that stock. I looked at, there was a point where Amazon stock was $56 a share. This is exciting, right? This is I'm teaching you about the stock market. There was a point where Amazon stock was $56 a share. You know how much Amazon stock was yesterday? $1,899 a share. Can you imagine? Right? And so there's the regret of like, oh, I should have, bought in earlier. Job interview. You walk away from a job interview and you're like, I could have done better. I wish I had prepared for that more and that kind of thing. An audition, right? Choosing a boyfriend or a girlfriend, okay, can absolutely lead to regret. You're just like, she was a mistake, right? Okay, boys can be a mistake too, but okay, there can definitely be those regrets. But maybe you regret doing something. Maybe you regret not doing something. But regret comes when we are trying to figure it out and we're putting all our hope in this decision. And then when that doesn't turn out the way that we want it, which in your life, not everything's going to turn out the way that you want it, will it lead to regret? Or is it going to lead to a further and a deeper faith in God? Going, okay, God, if you didn't want that for me, then, man, I don't regret that because I'm going to trust in you and I'm going to trust that you have something better. Are you in a place of faith where you believe that you could do that? Where something doesn't turn out. It's not this belief in a higher power. It's not this belief that karma will make it up to you. It's not this random belief that, Mother Nature, whatever it may be. Is there a confidence that you're going, you know what? This didn't work out. But I believe in the God who created me. I believe in a God who wants to have a relationship with me. He's not looking for me to be religious. He's not taking church attendance. He wants to have a relationship with me. So I believe that if this didn't turn out, if this wasn't the best, if this wasn't going to be good for me, that he's got something better. But when we put it all on us and it fails, it leads to regret. And one of the biggest causes of regret is a lack of commitment. Think back to something that you regret. Was a part of that, or maybe the root cause of that, a lack of commitment? Like maybe it was on the field and you got cut from the team because you just didn't try, right? You just weren't giving it your best effort. Or for me, I was thinking about this, one of the things that I ended up regretting and just being like, this is disappointing. It actually was around like New Year. When I was in high school, I went and I auditioned to be in a band in the Rose Parade. And all my buddies were going and doing that too. And we were at Pasadena City College is typically a real small little college with a little band program, but for the Rose Parade, you can go and audition, and they take 200 people and they put them in the Rose Parade. So we were all headed out there, and we were gonna go be in the Rose Parade, and everybody was excited about it. And I didn't practice once, not once. I figured they're gonna have me play some scales, they're gonna have me sight read some stuff. I'm good. I don't need to. I went out there, I absolutely choked. I mean, it was the worst audition ever. And I walked out of there, and all of my friends, they all made it. They all got accepted into this Rose Parade band, and I was the only one who didn't make it. And I look back on it, or I was looking at it, and I go, if I had practiced even a little bit, totally could have done it. But I didn't. There was this lack of commitment, and it led to regret. And it led to seasons of regret where, this was months before the Rose Parade. Well, New Year's morning, I wake up in the morning, yeah, there's Dave, there's Jason, there's Angel, and I'm like, and it rose up more repeatedly. It brought up regret. Regret a lot of times comes from a lack of commitment. When you do something half-hearted and then you kind of reap the consequences of that, a lot of that leads to regret. How does this translate to your faith in God? Because we could very easily talk about, Jeff, yeah, you should have just practiced harder. hey, when you go audition, you should make sure that you're ready. And we can make this very practical, and we can make, in your faith. Because the reality was, it was the Rose Parade. It was the 1995 Rose Parade. Who cares? Nobody remembers that Dave and Jason and Angel were in the Pasadena City College band in the Rose Parade. So we can move past that. But what about in our faith? What about in what you believe? How does regret kick in? Does it? Is that something where you would walk away from a situation and you regret not pursuing God more? You regret not letting God really have your heart and lead you so that you don't walk through through a season of life feeling like you're just all on your own. You're just by yourself. Here's what Jesus said. Okay, so if we're going to look to Jesus, who is God in the flesh, Jesus wanted to show us that God is real. He comes and the things that he says, the things that he teaches, and he does all these miraculous signs and things, and that can be physical evidence to us, but his main goal was our heart. And here's what he said. Here he said, this is the most important thing for you to understand. Love the Lord with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, with all your strength. He goes, and right there with it is love your neighbor as yourself. These are the things that God goes, you want to have a relationship with me? You want to know the rules to follow? This is it. But man, look at this. Love the Lord with how much of your heart? Come on, you with me? Love the Lord with how much of your heart? All of. What was the last thing you loved with all your heart? Well, dinner last night was pretty good, right? And the reason I say that is so often what we love with all our heart is so momentary. It's just whatever the last thing was, or actually whatever the current thing is. And it might be the person next to you. It might be the upcoming game or competition. It might be the thing that is just right there and you go, that's what I'm going to love with all my heart. And then what? And what happens when that thing right in front of you doesn't end up being what you thought it would be? What about when it doesn't become what you thought it could become? Where's your cornerstone? What does that look like? So, Jesus said, the most important thing, love the Lord with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, with all your strength. Give it all to God. But God knows, and this is where we go, darn it, because we can't get away with it. We can fool a lot of people. Fooling God doesn't work. Okay, he knows when our heart's not really in it. Now, before I read this next set of verses, listen to this. He is not demanding or expecting perfection. On our own, we are not supposed to be like, oh, I'm going to follow all the rules perfectly, and I'm going to be the perfect Christian, and I'm going to be the perfect son, I'm going to be the perfect daughter, I'm going to be the perfect student, this is not to say, hey, you better work hard and earn God's love. You cannot earn God's love. You do not deserve God's love. This is why a relationship with Jesus is the most important thing. Putting your faith in Jesus, that's what saves you. Not, are you a good person? Not, did you give money to charity? Not, did you put money in the box for deity? Not, did you volunteer for this? It's a relation. As you put your faith in Jesus, that's what saves you. Believing that Jesus is that thing that's bigger than yourself, and that only through him can you be saved. But we try and work the system. I don't know about you, but I like the feeling of feeling like I'm tricky, right? Do you? Nathan and I went to Disneyland on whenever it was, Thursday, and we totally worked the system. We went and got in line for Indiana Jones, and what you do is you ask them for single rider. You go in the exit, go to single rider, and then you just get in, and then it's just a line. It merges with the regular line. It's up to you to tell the guy, hey, I'm single rider, and you get pulled off and go. But if you don't want to, you get to skip most of the line. And then just go on regular. Totally work the system, and you can totally get away with it. Nobody even cares. We start to get that kind of mindset with God, where we go, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to call myself a Christian around other Christians. I'm going to go to church most Sundays. I'm even going to go to youth group so that I can win Kajabi Can-Can. And then during worship, I'll sway, during the music, I don't want to move too much because the music moves me, but it moves me ugly. So I'm just going to kind of sway. Oh, look at that. Ruby's got her hand up. Okay. Now I'm really spiritual. I'm going to play the game, but then every other moment, my life can be up to me. I can do what I want, can say what I want, have the attitude that I want, treat people however I want. But hey, what God's going to see is that I call myself a Christian sometimes. I go to church most Sundays. I go to youth group. I sway to the music. He's totally going to buy it. And he doesn't. And this is where it becomes about our heart. This is what it says in a dream that John wrote down, okay? It's the book of Revelation, okay? These are visions that God gave to John. This is what he says. I know all the things that you do. Do you believe that? Okay, that God knows all the things that you do? Well, if he doesn't, he's not much of a God. So let's say that he does. We believe that. I know all the things that you do, and that you're neither hot nor cold. Pretty accurate way to describe you sometimes. Okay? We're kind of lukewarm, right? That's that lukewarm. And don't you hate it when you get in the shower and like 3 people have showered before you, and the only water is just that lukewarm water? You're just like, it's almost. So he goes, I see all the things that you do, and that you're neither hot nor cold. I wish that you were one or the other. But since you are like lukewarm water, neither hot nor cold, I will spit you out of my mouth. This is God. Okay, so we love Grandpa God, right? We love when God is telling us, I love you. He's calling us child. He's saying, I'm with you. He's saying, I will never leave you. He's saying, I'll forgive you. This is Grandpa God. This is like God pulling you up on his knee and just being like, I love you, right? And we love that. We get all warm and fuzzy, and we're like, oh, yay, let's sing songs about that. And we sing Jesus is my boyfriend songs, and it's wonderful, and it's great. This isn't that God, right? Same God, but this is the heart of God going, you know what? When you're not hot or cold, when you're trying to play the system, when you think that calling yourself a Christian counts, when you think that having a little religion in your life is all that you need, and so you'll go through the motions and you'll play the game of going to church, but really your heart is in a place where you're not really interested. You're trying to get the spiritual points, but you're not really interested in a relationship it makes God want to puke. That's what he said here. You make me want to vomit. The fact that you're lukewarm water, neither hot nor cold, I will spit you out of my mouth. Ugh, right? You say, I'm rich. I have everything I want. I don't need a thing. Guys, definitely have had seasons in my life where I feel that way. Man, I've got my family. I love my wife and my kids more than I could ever express. And you're never gonna experience that until you're married, until you have kids. I know you hear parents say, I love you. You guys, it is a for real thing. And man, there are absolutely times where I'm like, I need nothing else. But I have else, right? I got a house. I got cars. And there are those times where I'm just like, what else could I need? Okay, maybe a McLaren. But I'm good, right? And these seasons where I go, I don't need anything else. I'm good. You know why? Because I believe I figured it out and I don't need anything bigger than myself. You say, I'm rich, I have everything I want, I don't need a thing, and you don't realize that you're wretched, and you're miserable and poor and blind and naked. And I read that, and honestly, there were a whole lot of moments where I'm like, I'm not naked. Come on, I'm good. But it's this reality of what am I calling good? What am I calling acceptable? What am I looking at for my cornerstone and being like, man, that is secure. How secure is it? So I advise you to buy gold from me. This is God talking. So I advise you to buy gold from me, gold that has been purified by fire. Then you'll be rich. So the stuff that you think makes you rich, the fact that you've got the newest gadget, the fact that your mom or dad makes a lot of money, the fact that your house is nice, the fact that you get to go out to eat anytime that you want to, the fact that you've got the clothes on that you've got on, whatever it is, a lot of times we settle for that and we go like, I'm rich, I'm good, this is as good as it gets. God would say, no, it's not until you get the life that I have for you, then you'll be rich. Then you'll know what rich is. Buy white garments from me so that you will not be ashamed by your nakedness, and ointment for your eyes so you will be able to see. I correct and discipline everyone I love, so be diligent and turn from your indifference. You guys, that call to turn from your indifference, I struggle with that. I just do. Because it's so easy to be indifferent, where you're just like, I'm fine. Because catastrophe hasn't happened right now, I'm fine. Some of you, you've experienced catastrophe. Your life has fallen apart. Things have been horrific for you. And some of you, you've gotten a glimpse of what your cornerstone has been. And it can be so easy just to be indifferent and just be like, no, I'm good. But in this final letter to Paul, he closes up this letter with this. He says this, as for me, my life has already been poured out as an offering to God. The time of my death is near. He words it this way, my life, the way he's lived his life, I've just poured my life out for God. And gone, God, you are more important than sports. You are more important than popularity. You are more important than whether everybody thinks I'm beautiful and talented. You are more important than whether I'm the most successful in the eyes of the world. You are more important than, he's going, God, I am pouring my life out for you. Guys, in your life, would you pour your life out for God? Would you make him and the pursuit of him more important than what everybody around you is going, no, this is the most important. Instagram's most important. TikTok's most important. Popularity is most important. Whether you make the team is most important. Whether you drive the nicest car is the most important. Whether you're stylish, whatever it may be, it's different for all of us. Those things are the most important. Here, Paul is going, look, as you've looked at my life, and read the letters that Paul wrote. Get into the Bible. If you don't have a Bible, there's a Bible right back there. You can have one. That's right back there on the back shelf. Just take it. Read Paul's letters. They're in the New Testament. Romans, 1st, 2nd Corinthians, Galatians, Ephesians, Philippians, Colossians, 1st, 2nd Timothy. Read these letters and you will see how Paul has poured out his life to a point where he's going to get killed for it. They're about to murder him because he made Jesus the most important thing. Because he said, no, I'm not going to shut up just because you tell me to. I'm not going to shut up just because I'm getting on people's nerves. I'm not going to shut up just because I'm not supposed to push my religion on you. And people are right. Man, to have religion forced on somebody is awful. But man, to have a relationship with God forced on somebody, this is eternal life. And it can lead others to life. So he poured out, my life has already been poured out as an offering to God. My time of my death is near. I have fought the good fight, and I finished the race, and I remained faithful. This is back to like, wait, there's going to be fighting? There's going to be racing? I don't want to have to do that. This goes back to that indifference that John talks about in Revelation, where it's like, I don't want to have to do that. And you guys, you don't have to. You really don't. You don't have to fight. You can just go with the flow. You can just accept what is going to be popular around you that's going to make life easy. But doing that, you will miss the cornerstone of God in your life. You will always be searching for that thing that's going to hold you up and it's going to support you and it's going to make you what you think you want to become. But man, when we are willing to pour our life out, it's going to be imperfect. It's going to be messy. It's not going to always make sense. You guys, don't ever be afraid of having questions about God, having questions about faith. Ask your questions. Go to somebody in your life that has a relationship with Jesus and ask whatever questions you've got. If we don't know the answer, we'll walk it with you and we'll find out. Ask your questions, but are you willing to fight? And I was thinking through this in my life. What is this fight? Are you willing to fight the temptation to hate people? Are you willing to fight the temptation to pursue something that's going to make you physically feel good for a moment and content? Oh, I got this new thing. Oh, I'm in this new relationship. I've got this thing. Are you willing to fight those temptations? Are you willing to run the race? Are you willing to run and not just sit back and be like, but that takes effort. That takes care. That takes concern. That takes all kinds of things that it's easier just to sit back. It's easier just to let somebody else teach me the Bible rather than pursuing a relationship. But here's the point. This is the end. You ready? And now the prize awaits me, the crown of righteousness which the Lord, the righteous judge, will give me on the day of his return. And the prize is not just for me, but all who eagerly look forward to his appearing. Okay, this isn't just, we live in this temporary world where it's like, hey, I want to pursue the stuff that's going to make me feel better now. Right now, food would make me feel better now. Can I get an amen? Right? Right now, going and hanging out with my friends will make me feel good right now. Okay, doing this, being part of it, all of these things, we live in these moment-to-moment kinds of things. And we forget about eternity. We forget that, there's going to be struggle, there's going to be racing, there's going to be fighting, there's going to be all these things. But, man, the result of it is this. Eternity in heaven, in the presence of God. This is what we're running for. This is what we're fighting for. And it's not just for the people of the Bible. It's not for those who have perfect attendance at youth group. It's for those who have put their faith in Jesus and are willing to run the race, because there's going to be a race, and it's not about proving yourself. You can't win this race on your own. It's about making yourself available to Jesus to empower you. So would you bow your heads? Each one of us, I don't know what part of this morning got your attention. I don't know what you kind of identified with when we're talking about the cornerstone of our lives and running the race. But man, I know that it is so easy to make this about religion. It is so easy to make this about what you feel like doing. It's so easy to make this about what's going to be convenient for you. And Jesus says our life is being called to love the Lord with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength. And that has to begin with a relationship with Jesus. Maybe you're here this morning and you have never asked Jesus to save you from yourself, to save you from the ways that you are going to try and make the best of your life. And who's going to fault you? But God is saying, I want to have a relationship with you. I know you, I love you, and I want relationship with you. And to receive him, to have relationship with him, all it takes is for you to go to him right now, in this moment, and say, Jesus, I choose to put my faith in you. I recognize that I have lived against you in trying to do this myself. I'm asking you to forgive me for the ways that I've fought you, and I've lived against you, and I've done the things that would satisfy me, and I've ignored you. Please come and be my Savior. Help me to put my faith in you and my trust in you. Some of you, you are so good at church. You are pro level. And you go through the motions, and maybe that portion of Revelation that John says where God knows whether you're hot or cold. And you're recognizing you are that lukewarm person. Guys, I have absolutely been that lukewarm person. Are you willing to love the Lord with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength? Right now, go to him. Acknowledge that. Invite him to come lead your life, to be the Lord of your life, to give you a passion for living for him above living for all the things that are making you comfortable. Because you're calling popularity cool. You're calling being accepted by people and validated by people all there is. And you're settling for so much less. So God, right now, I lift up each person in this room, your children. And God, we need you. But we confess, Lord, right now that we sometimes struggle to realize that we need you. God, I confess that I think I've got it down. I am confident in myself and in my own efforts, but God, I want my confidence to come from you. I want you to be my cornerstone. So I pray for myself, and I lift up everyone else in this room and pray that you would make yourself real and known to us each day as we go to school and to work and hang out with friends and do our sports and our activities. God, that you would be real and that people would see that and that they would desire that. So God, come and move in power in Jesus' name. Amen. If you have questions, if you want to talk, if there are things that, were stirred up this morning, please come and talk to one of us. We would love to talk with you. Otherwise, see you on Wednesday. We've got a special night planned for Wednesday. You're not going to want to miss that. So see you on Wednesday night. Love you guys.